It's time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
We're here at the Bay of Fundy, the shores of the Bay of Fundy, where they have the largest tides in the world. We're about an hour outside of Truro, Nova Scotia at Five Island Park. And we're not here for the clam digging like the guys behind us. We're here for the second annual Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships. Hi, I'm Bill Debo with my co-host, Lumberjack sport analyst Rod Cumberland. Rod, in episode 1, we're covering the springboard chop, the single buck, and the women's underhand chop.
We've got two phenomenal ladies in the underhand chop. Janet Walker, who's a 2015 national champion. Caitlin Carroll, who's a 2016 national champion. They're going head-to-head in the underhand.
Now, we have many of the best male sawyers in the Maritimes here for the single buck. Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. The best are here. And the Five Islands Lighthouse Park is about 22 acres of open parkland and about 1,000 feet of oceanfront and access to a long beach. The panoramic view of the Minas Basin from Five Islands Lighthouse Park includes all 5 islands. This is notably among the best Bay of Fundy scenery anywhere. There's a beautiful overhead shot of the city of Truro, Nova Scotia, and for the second year in a row, we're in the parking lot of the Cat Shack and the Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships. And right now we're going to be heading into the springboard chop. We're going to be showing you the top 4 heats. This first heat, Ryan McIntyre taking on Dave Patrican.
Dave Patrick, the most improved lumberjack competitor in the Maritime Lumberjack Association last year. And, of course, Ryan McIntyre's got a new job. He's working for the government now. A little bit of spare time on his hands in the evenings, I think, to actually get some practicing in. So these guys have improved a long ways in their springboard cutting.
Well, Dave Patrick looks like he's wrapping up on his first notch there. He's not going to be quite happy with that. He didn't clean up the V there. He's going to go back to the axe and clean it a little bit more. Ryan McIntyre now taking lead in this heat.
I think the other problem Dave Patrick had there in his notch is his springboard shoe isn't sharpened well enough on the end, because it should have grabbed on that 45-degree slope, and it didn't. It actually just slid right out. As we see Ryan McIntyre here getting into his second notch. Looks like he's doing swinging lots of times. Usually you have a 4 to 6 hit pocket. Ryan's taking a lot of swings, so I think he's butchered this notch.
That's right, Rod. When we see a wide angle of Ryan, you can see that he's probably not very happy with that first board as well. As Dave Patrick finishes the second notch, he's probably going to clean out that with his hand a little bit there, jam his second board in, and it looks pretty good. Ryan McIntyre putting his second board in. Both guys going to be getting up on those second boards at the exact same time.
And this, of course, is the board that's going to hold them for the whole extent of their chop at the top, so they want to make sure they get a good, strong board. Dave Patrick's board looks great, and he's getting into his chop at the top now. Ryan, you see, he's swinging a little bit more gingerly, because you can tell here his top board has got a sag to it.
And he's probably going to suck himself a little bit closer to the pole there, and I know you referred to it as arm chopping. He can't get full extension from his arm when he's out the back of his board. Nice board there by Dave Patrick, and as he wails away, looks like Ryan McIntyre is starting to tire a little bit.
Dave Patrick is doing a great job here. He's back on his board, swinging the full swing with his axe, so he's doing a great job. Ryan's picking the pace up because he knows he has to arm chop this block, so his pace is going a lot faster. Good move by Ryan McIntyre.
And the other thing that's slowing Ryan down a little bit, he's got a really nasty piece there with a knot. Nice clean lines there by Patrick, and he's ready to make his turn over to the backside as Ryan's punching things out there and is really struggling with some fatigue there. Dave Patrick on the backside putting some drivers in.
Dave Patrick is going to finish this off and actually win this heat if he can get it off, and there it is. Dave Patrick with a time of 1 minute 50 seconds in the first heat of the springboard.
Okay, we head into heat number 2. The time to beat now is 1.50.49. This next heat, Berlin Nickerson taking on Trevor Schofield. Both guys Nova Scotia natives, and both guys spent a fair amount of time learning the sport out west as well.
Lots of things in common. They're both big, burly guys, too. They got big arms on them the size of my head, and they both do, their talent level is very similar, so they usually get paired up quite often in the same heat. Both guys having a hard time here. Another thing they're sharing is a hard time getting these first 2 pockets done, but Trevor Schofield has got a beautiful-looking pocket, nice, strong board. He's up. It looks like Berlin's having a struggle.
Well, Berlin had a whole lot of mess there in that first notch. He went in there with 2 hands to clean out a lot of wood. He wasn't happy with it at all. He's still on the axe, making his first notch a little bit better better, a little bit deeper. He's got to be happy with that one there. Nice board set. Trevor Schofield well on his way in his second notch.
I think Berlin struggles a little bit with racing in the springboard chop. We've watched him now at 4 or 5 different shows. He really races up the pole, and I think he just needs to settle down, chop a good notch, and put his board in. Trevor Schofield is doing just that, and I see right there, looking at his axe, he's got a brand new Kingi axe from way down in New Zealand, a Tuatai axe. Can't wait to see how that thing chops his pop at the top.
Nickerson's board's really steep there. I think he's going to hope that it does settle a lot more. And you can see he's got the foot strap in there. That's a Rod Cumberland thing, isn't it?
I got that from Mark Etcheberry. It's actually a really good move. He's actually, his board's sagging now, so we actually can't even use it. But Mark Etcheberry did that years ago. It actually gives you a lot of pull when you're doing your downstrokes on this springboard chop. Neat to see Berlin trying that, but he is not able to use that at all to his advantage in this chop.
Good clean lines there for Berlin as he's trying to track down Trevor. Trevor's about to put the finishing touches on the front side, turn over to the back side. He does that. He switches hands. He's got one uppercut, and now he's putting some drivers in. Berlin's still on the front side.
Well, Trevor's going to be really happy with the purchase of this axe because that Kingi is taking big chunks out every time he swings his axe. The block's loose, and look at that. Trevor Schofield lowers the time to beat in this heat with a 1 minute 35 seconds.
Well, we're halfway through the springboard chop with 4 excellent choppers coming after the break. Right now it's Trevor Schofield and Dave Patrick leading the way, but we're looking to get under 130.
Colchester County is a municipality in northeastern Nova Scotia. It's a population of about 50,500 people. One of the main things you can do is if you look at the property that I'm standing on now, it was just purchased by the municipality about a year or so ago. It will be used for, there will be rafting, there will be all kinds of stuff to do just here in the tides, and it's right on the cusp of the town of Truro, so everything is very central to this particular spot that I'm standing in now. The Lumberjack event was one event that we funded out of the economic development grant budget that we have. The give back to the county is that it brings people to the county. They see the great stuff that we have here. Hopefully they'll come back a second time, bring their families, and enjoy the community that we live in.
It's always great to have the support of the municipality and all the other sponsors who get involved in this event. We're here at the 2nd annual Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships in the parking lot of the Cat Shack. Earlier before the break, we had the first 2 heats of the springboard chop. We are heading into heat number 3 with Ben Cumberland, Scott Reed. Right now the time to beat is 135.66.
Look for it to drop in this heat. Both guys good springboard cutters. Ben's strong suit in this here is his climb. And look at that, a 4-hit pocket. He's up right off the bat, jumps onto that board. Scott Reed having a tough time here. He's butchering that first pocket really badly. He's got to get in there a little bit deeper because he's a big man.
And you really got to hit your lines in the pocket. Once you start missing your lines, you can see you get a whole lot of sawdust in there. He's got to clean it up with his axe and probably his hand as well. You can see a big pop of the axe and a whole lot of sawdust comes out.
Ben Cumberland setting his second board. He's going to be up there and starting to chop. Good strong board for Ben. Actually, it looks like it might be too strong. He can't settle it down. This is actually as bad as a sagging board because you can't generate any power off your back leg when you're swinging that axe.
Well, I've never heard that term before, too strong a board. I assume that means too steep a pitch. He's got to have that shoe settle into the notch a little bit more so he can settle it down. Scott Reed looks like he's really struggling on the second notch as well, and Ben looks like he's got to punch through a knot.
Yeah, Ben and Nathan's boards actually are ones made by Mitch Hewitt, so they have really good grip, and if you don't make your pocket perfect, this is exactly what happens. It gets too steep. Scott Reed having all kinds of trouble. I also saw that his notch is sloped, so you see his board is leaning right towards us. Not a good board at all. Scotty's not going to be happy with that. As Ben gets into the small wood, he'll be turning around to side number 2 and start slicing it off here anytime, and Ben does make the turn.
And Scott is just getting into his block up top there. He's not comfortable with the board at all. It's starting to sag a little bit. You can see him looking back. How far can I get out of this board to get full arm extension as Cumberland is starting to drive things off?
Scotty, of course, moving in a little bit closer. He realizes doesn't have comfort in that at all. But Ben drives it off. 1 minute, 30 seconds. That's going to be really close to the time to beat right now. And Scotty Reed is packing it in.
Yeah, your first board went really well. A little bit of a wall of wood that you went through, but the second board, 8 hits to get that notch cleaned out. You just weren't quite happy with it until the 8th hit.
Yeah, on I think it was my 4th hit. 4th hit in, I went way too flat. Tried to go 30 degrees to bring it to a V at the back, and I just didn't swing it at the right angle, and it went in way too flat. So I had to try to bore it out a little bit more so I could get the board in far enough to hold.
Well, as we head into heat number 4, we have a couple of excellent New Brunswick choppers. Nathan Cumberland taking on Marcel Dupuis. The time to beat set by Nathan's older brother, Ben. 130.9 in the last heat. Couple of excellent choppers here.
Both guys are good at the springboard chop, and of course we have them paired up here together. I think watching guys like Dave Bolstead and Jason Wynyard in the past, they see that big guys can actually do this event. As look at that, both guys, 4 swing pockets, and they're up on their first board. Marcel's hugging in a little bit tight here because he's not too confident in that first board, but both of them here chopping right together. But they realize that big guys can actually do this event very well. And look at that, both of them setting their boards. You're getting up here on board number 2.
6 hit notches for both of them, and they're going to be happy with those second boards. They're looking really good. Rod, you often refer to them as racing each other as opposed to racing the block and racing the stopwatch. They can see each other clearly, and they know they got a race in their hands.
The time that they have to beat is only 1 minute and 30 seconds, and both these guys have been putting up times a lot faster than that, so they should be settling down and following their lines here. Nathan's butchering the bottom swing of his block, but his axe is really chopping this block well. Marcel's struggling. I don't know whether it's his axe or just his block is really tough, but look at that. Nathan's running the second side. He's going to be driving it off.
And Cumberland wins the Springboard Chop here in Truro, Nova Scotia with a time of 54.34, edging out Marcel Dupuis. Your climb was pretty good, but not quite as quick as Marcel. You passed him and caught him up top there. Did you know that?
I guess I knew he was up before me. My first block, I didn't make it quite as good as I wanted to. And my second board, you want the block to come to a nice V at the back. And I could see there was still a little wall of wood, so I took an extra 2 hits to get a good board up top.
Wow, great camera work there, seeing a picture-perfect notch. Good thing Nathan took those extra few swings because it held him up there long enough to get a great time in the Springboard Chop. He takes first place.
Right now we're heading into the women's single buck and showing you the top 3 heats. This first heat, a couple of relative newcomers to the sport. Cameron Finley taking on Megan McKinley.
Well, both these girls are still students at their respective colleges. Cameron Finley's still at the Dalhousie Agricultural Campus being trained by Janet Walker. Megan McKinley's still a student at the University of New Brunswick. And actually, both of their coaches here are wedging for them. You see Megan McKinley, this is probably the first time she's ran a competition blade, having a really hard time getting started here. But Cameron Finley's getting into the middle part of her block.
And one of the keys to success, of course, in the single buck is keeping that saw straight and smooth. Cameron Finley on the left-hand side doing a good job. You can see keeping the saw relatively straight, not letting the nose dive down towards the bottom.
Yeah, Cameron's doing everything right. Big, long strokes. Megan McKinley, again, here, she's just learning how to do it, but she's nice and smooth right now as she's getting into the thicker part of the block, and Cameron Finley's down in the small one. It's not going to take long here. Cameron Finley drives things off, and she sets a time to beat in the women's single buck with a 36.1. In this heat here, Kelly Bonus is actually running a blade that she got the first time here last year in Truro. It's a Tuatara blade from New Zealand. She has a little bit of hang at the top, but Kelly's had a whole year of practice with this thing, and she's running it really well.
She's very, very aggressive with the saw right now. 36.18 is time to be set by Cameron Finley in the first heat. Look at Jessie Swinemer on the left-hand side. Looks like she's struggling a little bit. Kelly Bonus really working hard to get things done. A little bit of a struggle there by hanging a raker.
Well, Kelly's in the small wood now. That's the second time she's actually hung this off. Third time she had a hard time getting it off, but she has a new time to beat at 26.99 in the women's single buck.
Well, we're heading into our last heat. Janet Walker taking on Caitlin Carroll. Time to beat 26.99, set in the last heat. This is a great battle right here between two arch rivals.
Yep, we have Janet Walker on the right. We have Caitlin Carroll on the left. They're nick and tuck right now. They're both getting into the big part of the wood, doing a great job using the whole blade. Caitlin Carroll could use a little bit more of hers, but it's cutting really fast.
It's really dropping through that wood. Part saw, part Sawyer. Janet really struggling on the right-hand side. Caitlin Carroll's about to finish things off, and Caitlin Carroll wins the women's single buck with a time of 25.73. Caitlin, always a good race with Janet Walker there, but your consistency and your speed was very consistent all the way through.
Yeah, I think today I had a good cut. I've been trying to train, and today it paid off. I had a good run with that saw. It's the first time I've pulled it all year.
I mean, we have 18 inches here. It's a big diameter. Not all of the shows have that big a wood.
I find bigger wood's actually easier for most women to cut. More of the saw is actually held up with that, so there's less chance for us to change our angle, drop the nose, which usually causes most of us to hang up, so worked for me today.
Well, and a great field of competitors here at the Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships. The women's single buck is now over. Caitlin Carroll just edging out Kelly Bonus by just over a second. Here we are at the second annual Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships in the parking lot of the Cat Shack, and we are about to wrap things up here with the water boil. Always the last event at any competition, and it makes it even more exciting and more difficult for the competitors when there's a driving rain.
And of course, the guys have to do a lot of other strategic maneuvers here, try to keep that block dry, try to find a dry place that they can actually start their fire. So there's all kinds of other hurdles that these guys have to overcome. And of course, it's a tight race here for the overall between Marcel and Nathan, so they have that added pressure. As you see Marcel getting set to go.
Hi, Bill Diva. You're my superhero rock star. I love Lumberjacks.
Well, thanks for the kudos from Scott Reed there. He's not showing a whole lot of pressure, being one of the favorites in the water boil. Him and his partner, Caden Carroll, probably one of the teams to beat with a few others.
Yeah, and the few others are actually teams that Scotty has coached in the kettle boil event. So lots of good pairs here, all getting set to go in the kettle boil. Darren Hudson, of course, from the Timber Lounge, he's getting set to go in the kettle boil.
Now, the rules are each pair of competitors are equipped with a block of dried cedar, an axe, some matches, and of course a tin of soapy water. Now, Rod, what are the rules for striking these matches? What instruments, rocks, axes, teeth, zippers, what are they allowed to strike the matches on?
Well, if you're young enough, you still have your teeth, you could use those, but there's actually no rule stating what you can and cannot use other than the matchbox itself.
No, especially in the wet conditions here, and of course the smoky conditions and the fire conditions that are about to take place. You see a lot of people wearing a variety of different things, including the fire high-vis coveralls that Morgan Reen and Graham Green are wearing.
Yeah, and I think they got those fighting fire out west. Makes them look intimidating to the other pairs, but I don't think too many teams here are going to be intimidated by that as they get down, starting to make their shavings, of course. Everybody's got to get some small tinder to start their fire, and this is where the shavings come in.
Nice big shavings there by a team of Berlin Nickerson and Darren Hudson to get started. And you see a couple of guys here getting these shavings that we call kind of curls. They're big curls of shavings. I know that's one of your strategies, Rod.
You bet. Get a lot of shavings underneath the can because that's where you need most of your heat.
And you see the team of Roggeveen and Green there. They've got the extension on the handle. I know that's another one of your strategies. I guess they're paying attention to you, where you can use two hands to get your shavings as you shave the block.
Funny to see all the things that Scotty and I have coached these young fellas at before. There's lots of UMB competitors here, lots of graduate NSAC competitors here.
Team of Janet Walker and Kelly Bonus really having a hard time getting things going. There's a big pile of shavings. Getting a lot of shavings, getting a lot of heat under the can is certainly the key. Then you got to build around it. Janet Walker still not getting a fire going.
And of course, Marcel Dupuis, we're watching him and Paul right now. They're also in the running for the overall, so they need a fire going really quickly as we see a match trying to get lit here on a wet axe, not working very well at all.
That's Tess Billings and her partner. There's another picture of Scott Reed and Caitlin Carroll. They're struggling. Again, the damp conditions, the wood probably attracting a little bit of moisture while it's sitting there throughout the course of the day. Some teams are even wearing safety gloves.
As a good friend of mine always says, conditions like this separate the contenders from the pretenders, and we're seeing who can actually boil a kettle here in these extreme conditions.
Now, we just saw a team there. They had a huge fire built, but not a whole lot of flame, not a whole lot of smoke. But right now, this is Ryan McIntyre and Dave Patrickin. They've used all their wood at this point. Now they just got to add a little bit of oxygen, trying to get it burn hotter and burn faster.
So in these wet conditions, of course, things aren't taking off quite as quickly as you need them to. So the guys have to be careful to make sure they don't go too fast, bring the fire along slowly so that things catch and you get a lot of heat going.
Well, we're just coming over the 2-minute barrier. There's the Cumberland brothers. Looks like they got a good fire just started. Ben is trying to add a little bit of oxygen. Nathan's still doing a little bit of building, adding as much wood to the fire as possible. Then he's going to try and close things in so the heat doesn't escape.
In conditions like this, a tricky thing for competitors to know is when to get down and start putting the oxygen to it, because you don't want to blow too hard so that you blow your fire out. So you need to leave it alone so it actually does build up a little bit of heat before you really start putting a flame to it. There you go. Look at that. Ryan and Dave doing a great job here. And look at Berlin and Darren there. It looks like they're getting close to the end.
Darren Hudson's doing nothing but blowing right now. Berlin's going to put the last few pieces on the wood. Looks like Dupuis and Woodland are struggling a little bit. They got their fire built, but they've got no flame.
That's going to be unfortunate for Marcel. He needs these points for the overall, but man, the things are getting down to the final brushstrokes now as these fires are getting hotter and hotter. It's not going to be long now.
Well, we're creeping up on the 3-minute mark right now. This is about the time when the water is going to start boiling over. It's going to be a photo finish. There's a lot of teams right close to boiling their water.
And at this stage of the game, all you've got left to do is sit back and put the oxygen to it. Some people are using their breaths, some people are using hats. We're getting down to the final brushstrokes here as we approach the 3-minute mark.
And you don't want to burn yourself on fire. We've seen that happen over the years. And there are the winners in the center of the yard there with Darren Hudson and Berlin Nickerson coming into 3:04 and winning the water boil. Okay, hold on a second here. Yesterday, Berlin Nickerson's looking for a partner. He found you. Tell me the story there.
Well, he didn't know I was available, and of course, we're the magic team, but man, we met up here today, and Berlin's like, you're doing the water boil with me, right? You got a partner, right? It's me. Oh, man, I'm glad I had this man. He had the plan, folks. He had it all figured out. If it wasn't for Berlin Nickerson right here, we wouldn't have won that. It was my first kettle boil win ever.
Okay, now hold on a second here. You're talking about changing the plan midway, or you stuck with the original plan?
We kind of had plan A, B, and C. We went to B, and then I switched to A. So A worked.
And he won.
Can you just define A for me?
Well, you know, he wanted to make small shavings, really nice fine ones to get that a little heat going, big flame, big spark, and then put on some bigger fuel, and then into the pencil sticks. Oh, wait a second. Oh, man, we still got some fire. Better put that away. Oh, that was incredible. Hot stuff right here in Truro, Nova Scotia.
Thanks, guys.
Lumberjacks, get on it.
Well, in an event that typically takes between 2 and 3 minutes for the first place team, all the times in this event here in the damp weather conditions were over 3 minutes. The winners, Darren Hudson and Berlin Nickerson, coming in with a 3.04. They take first place.
And the crown pivotal point today focuses on Captain Canada Ben Cumberland. Has all kinds of trouble in the hot side event, cuts out on his first disc, and then stalls a saw on his third.
And the overall standings are now over here at the second annual Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships. In the end, it was really a two-horse race. Marcel Dupuis, Nathan Cumberland, always battling it out in all the competitions here in the Maritimes.
The Lumberjacks of the day today in the women's division, Caitlin Carroll from Truro, Nova Scotia. This is her hometown. She takes first place in the unhanded single buck and a second place in the stock saw, en route to a first place finish. And our Lumberjack of the day is from Keswick Ridge, New Brunswick, 21 years young. Nathan Cumberland takes a first place finish in all 3 chopping events, amasses 475 points for the win.
Caitlin, solid day, good strong field of competitors here. Just pick a couple of things that you really did well.
Today I'm overly happy with my single buck for the first one this year. I think not having a big hang up at all and running the saw smooth was all I could ask for.
And you know, consistency is the name of the game in winning overall. You weren't very consistent in the axe throw, but tell me about the consistency for the rest of the day.
No, I'm very blessed today to be able to get the overall. My back's been bugging me over the last couple of weeks, and I wasn't sure how today would go, so very blessed. And yeah, just kind of a steady day, place and everything, and yeah, overall a good day.
Well, it takes a lot of work and a lot of people to make a successful competition. This is now in its second annual, and you can see a lot of logos on this screen of people getting involved in this competition. Another successful event, second annual Nova Scotia Lumberjack Championships here in the parking lot of the Cat Shack. Scott Reed and Ryan McIntyre deserve a whole lot of credit.
You bet. And talk about things growing in the East. 30 competitors plus here at this competition, and the talent. Man, there's no end to the talent here in the East. Great job, great show today.
Come back again next week when it'll be time for Lumberjacks.
Lumberjacks is sponsored by Echo, only professional grade with 5-year warranty. Crown, protect, maintain, save. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Yamaha, rev your heart.
Lumberjacks TV, once the competitors get out their crosscut saws, their single buck saws, you hear us talking a lot about peg and rakers or cutters and rakers. When you look here at our crosscut saws, or single bucks, there's pegs and rakers. The pegs are the teeth, and the rakers are the one that actually chisels the wood out. So on our teeth are always offset, whether the 2-peg, 3-peg, or 4-peg, and they're offset each way. So one tooth cuts the track down one side, the other tooth cuts the track down the other side. The raker comes along behind and chisels that out. That's what fills the gullet up. That's what cuts your wood.